Hello everybody, welcome to Darkslayer TV. My name is, of course, Darkslayer, and welcome to the very first ever episode of What the Hellion Went Wrong. I had my friend and cousin, Stupidasso, send me in a replay where he lost a game to demonstrate what it is I'm trying to do with this show. He didn't actually request this specific replay be analyzed, but that's what we're going to do. I think it's a really good one to start things off. And I have things like transitions between me and the game. Whoa, look, there's the game. Whoa, there's me. Hi. Anyways, let's jump into the game here. This is a game by Stupidasso where he does a one base all-in using really early Hellions and Banshees. And I went through this game, and I made a set of fantastic notes here that we're going to go through, where I'm basically just going to analyze everything that went wrong. While we work our way up to the first little thing I have wrong with this game, let's explain what an all-in is. So an all-in is where you take a certain cluster of units where your race is at its strongest at that point in time in the game, and you hit them with everything you have, because they could be being greedy, they could be taking bases. Basically, you're taking your strength at that certain time of the game, and you're destroying them with it. So this is the first little gripe I had. I'm going to pause it here real quick. It's important to remember that with all-ins, timing is absolutely everything. So every second you take where you're not attacking them is one more second that they're going to get stronger and have a better chance to defending against your all-in. So if we head back into the game here, we can see that in order to get this barracks down, we pulled the SCV off of the supply depot to return to the mineral line here, and then pulled this SCV off the mineral line and went up here to place the barracks. Now, you might be thinking to yourself that that's not really a big deal. It only took a couple of seconds, and to be quite frank, I mean, I don't know, a lot of people do it, right? But here's the thing, is not only did it take 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 4 or 5, I haven't actually checked, but at the same time, that's money lost, because if we look, instead of one SCV being off the line, we have 2. Now that's something minor, and I don't want to harp on it too much, but I mean, it is something that Stupidasso does need to work on. As you can see, he's going to do it again with this barracks. He's going to send that straight back to the mineral line, which isn't necessarily what he needs to do. So about the 1 minute mark here, I started to notice he has an excess of money, an excess, more likely, where it's not really being spent on anything. Now I know this can happen in the early game of Terran, but I just wanted to note it because it's going to happen throughout the game here, and that money could be spent on something else, something like a barracks, or something to get out a couple more units to make this push more aggressive, better off at period. So as I said, we're going to see the same mistake happen again. We're going to see this SCV go down here and get stuck, 1, because of the supply depot wall, but 2, he's going to pull a second one to now put down this factory. So not only do we have an excess of money, we're also not mining it efficiently. So it's basically shoving the all-in back more and more. We even pulled an SCV there, but that was obviously just a little bit of a mistake there. And nothing else really occurs for the next couple of seconds here. He goes ahead and puts this reactor down. This is that so that way the factory, when it lifts off, can land there and immediately start double pumping out those Hellions as soon as it finishes. And here we go. You're going to see the same mistake again, and then finally we're going to move on to something besides this. But this SCV is going to be queued to go back to that mineral line, and he's going to pull another one up here. As you can see, he's already doing that to get that starport down. But something else I did note here, and it has to do with his SCV management, which might not seem like a big deal, but it is when you're all in, okay? Like, if we look over here at this supply depot, where's the other ones? He's got 2 up here, right? And then he's going to start building this one, which is fantastic. You should always build supply depots because they help with your supply. But instead of spacing them out as much as he's spacing them out, which you're going to see with his 4th and 5th pylon as well, just have this guy keep building supply depots. He has the money, right? So he needs to figure out, for this build, how much supply he needs. And once he figures that out, he can build how many he needs with that excess money, and then he's done. He doesn't have to worry about it anymore. That's gone. He doesn't even have to think about it. It'll be gone. But unfortunately, that isn't what happens here. So continuing forward here, nothing really happens until about the 3-minute and 30-second mark. So we're going to go ahead and go to double speed here while we wait for that. He starts building out a couple of those Hellions and building a tech lab here for the starport, because that's going to allow him to get cloaked pretty quickly and get those Banshees out to do as much damage as he possibly can. And here we go again. So I want to go ahead and point this out. He did pull this one back to the minerals, and now he's got this one down here, which he pulled a different SCV for, and it's going to go back to the minerals as well, but he still has the money to do other things with, even after starting Cloak and the Banshee. So I think that's important. So we're going to go back to faster speed here, and I'm noticing, so I wrote down 330 to 340. Oh, I remember what this is. Alright, so remember what I said about timing when it comes to an all-in. What he does here is he wastes 10 seconds. He has 4 Hellions, so he could go out and pressure right now, but as you're going to see, he actually spends a lot of time in his base before he ends up pushing out. If we pause right now and we go to the all screen, that's not the all screen, and we head over to the everyone screen, we can see 2 adepts are on the way, and pretty much nothing else is going on in the Protoss base. We don't have a wall, we don't really have anything going on, and this is left wide open. So that photon overcharge could be used here, but not over here. So those Hellions could get out there and start dealing damage to this, but unfortunately that isn't what happens. So we're going to go ahead and continue here from the view of Stupid Ass. So we're actually going to go to his camera for this. He tries to go out right here, but unfortunately the pylon was up, but he does get that fixed. So he starts making his way across the map, which is fantastic, and he re-raises the supply depot. Okay, please don't do this. Especially after this has happened. I just now realized, okay, look, yeah, this. He's already engaged the adepts, right? So that should give him the knowledge that he can open the wall, and that's important because this. You ready for this? And oh, there's 2 in the base. Oh, he's worried about micro. Hold on. Oh, they're stuck, and they're there for a while. So there's no reason to do this. Like, this wall is so useless because even if those adepts got in, whenever you're pumping out units for an all-in like this, you're going to be able to defend with the reinforcements. So I don't necessarily like this wall specifically against Protoss, but maybe against Zerg you could justify it, but I don't know that I can justify the wall versus this Protoss player. So that goes down. The Banshee is on the way up, which is fantastic. And this is something big I wanted to point out. So, which, by the way, this just now went down, and the Hellions are just now moving out. So that's, I don't even know. We're up to about 30 to 40 seconds wasted time right now that could have been near his base. And this is a big issue. All right, do you see it? Do you see it? It's right there. We have a queued Banshee. This is a big issue because a Banshee costs 150 minerals and 100 gas. So, that being said, 150 minerals and 100 gas could be either a barracks, or that's 50 gas away from a second starport, or that could be a factory. But instead, it's a second Banshee. So, which, by the way, look at his minerals. Once again, we have that excess money. We have excess money the entire game. That could be going into Marines. Marines aren't necessarily part of the all-in, But the thing is, you have the money, so why not use it? So about 420, actually we already passed it, he starts to build a second reactor. Which was a little confusing to me because this one isn't being used and it's not going to be used for a long time. Which is why I thought maybe double pumping Marines would be good, or just putting down that second factory, because once again we have the money now plus a queued Banshee, so we could have 2 more factories or a factory and a starport on the way if you didn't want to commit with Marines. But other than that, that's really it on the macro side of things. The rest of this is going to be taking place at the enemy's base. I do want to note that he does try to put an expansion down here. This expansion is a bit much. I think that this expansion, because I have seen the all-in build order that he's doing, and I think this expansion has to do with if you've done a bunch of damage and they're still alive. You know, you've got to get yourself back into the game. Excuse me. But otherwise, don't take this expansion. It's not worth it. Put that money towards more units. Remember, you're all in right now. You're not playing a macro game. If you're playing a macro game, play a macro game. But if you're all in, be all in. I really think this command center is if you've done damage and they're still alive. Which goes to show, by the way, how behind Stu Pedasso really is. He needs to already have been there, and time has already passed, and he's not there. So that's basically it on the macro side of things. If he would have had some more buildings right now, he could have had more units, and this initial push would have been stronger. But let's go ahead and follow along with the push that is taking place. The Hellions are going to go ahead and go up here, and oh no, the Protoss has built a really weird pylon wall thing. This Banshee goes in, which I would like to mention, you pre-cloaked it. So you have scouted the Stalkers here with your Hellions, and then you cloaked the Banshee and went in. This is kind of an issue, because watch how much energy we're going to go through before the Stalkers even arrive. So we're going to go ahead and start sniping some probes here, which is fantastic. He's going to pull the probes. He's going to start shooting the Nexus, which also I want to bring up. He spends a lot of time shooting the Stalkers in the Nexus here, but that's really not what this Banshee is for. This Banshee is to keep all of the probes distracted, so the Protoss is losing as much economy as possible. But he uses this Banshee as a combat unit a lot of the time. So he used about 20 energy before the Stalkers showed up, and as you can see, the energy goes down pretty slow. So I'd say he lost about 10 seconds of cloak there before he even needed it. And once again, he pulled the Stalkers back, but he keeps the Banshee cloaked, which does the Banshee have an initial cloak cost? Okay, it does. So keeping it cloaked might be a good idea. And once again, he's using this Banshee as a combat unit. What he needs to be doing with it is making sure that he stops the probes at all costs. He needs to be doing as much damage to those probes as humanly possible. And he's actually going to lose this Banshee here as he wasn't paying attention to the energy cost. And sends this one in now and continues to fire upon the Stalkers, but with a few photon overcharges there. The Hellions are completely negated, and the Protoss is really unhindered by this. And since it did take a while to get here, he already has the Robo facility down and an Observer coming out. So now that the Observer's out, they're going to shoot down this Banshee very quickly, and these Hellions are going to go try to work on the Stalkers but don't get a lot done. Then they're going to make the decision to go kill the probes, and I really don't care about the rest of this replay. This is GG. The miss micro was probably the biggest downfall here. I think he could have done a lot more damage, and if he did do a lot more damage to the probe and the economy of the Protoss player, he would definitely still be in this game. But if we go back to the game here, you'll see that he never actually used this expansion, so that's 400 minerals and an SCV that's not into units right now. We have 2 factories building. 3 factories building after the initial push, and this factory has 2 Hellions queued, and we have 2 Banshees queued. So while there were micro mistakes up here for this all in, it all came down to the fact that your macro wasn't on par. I just can't emphasize enough that the expansion definitely is for if you've done damage and then you're still in the game. So, you know, then you'll put the expansion down to try to continue to macro and get things done. And never queue. If anything, put down more buildings and show up quicker. You know, use the tips I had provided to show up faster. I wrapped this up by saying some very generic things, but I think I gave some pretty good tips throughout the course of this video. And this is my first ever attempt at being educational and analytical, at improving a build or trying to show someone something in StarCraft. So hopefully I can get better. But if you enjoyed it and you want your game analyzed, please send it to DarkslayerReplays@gmail.com, but specify that you want it analyzed. Otherwise, I may just cast it. Which brings me to my next point. If you want a game cast, send it to the same place. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you learned something new. If not, let me know too. You know, say in the comments, say, you know, this needed work. But constructive comments are the best, because I will learn, you know, say why did it need work? You know, here you could have said this, here you could have said that, or, you know, you didn't even need to say this. Whatever you need to do to help me improve would be fantastic. But that's all for me, guys, in the first episode of What the Hellion Went Wrong. I'll see you next time.